People may be seeing me in the last 3 or 4 months making this case publicly, but as Richard Tice will testify, and Nigel will testify, I've actually been saying this privately for a couple of years. And it's critical that they democratise the party, because if they're to become the government in 2029, you can't have a government that has run by a political party that isn't in itself held to account.
Of course.
You've got to have leadership that's held to account. That's how you keep leadership honest. That's how you keep leadership on its toes. That's how you ensure that the party continues to represent the best interests of the people of the country. And that's vital for me, because so much hope, so many people's aspirations are now travelling on reform. But you're right, Nana.
It takes time.
But they've done the document, and that campaign that I fought is over. But there are a couple of other areas which I don't see completely eye to eye with Nigel on. And these are important areas as well. The first is, he says Brexit's done, and I say it hasn't.
I don't think he thinks it's done. I mean, I've never heard him say that it's properly done.
He says
I think he said they've done it, but they haven't. It's been done very badly.
Yeah, but I would say it's not even done, because fundamentally, when we voted for Brexit, we voted for this democratic unit, the constitutional unit that reform stands for, to leave the EU. That is the unit of the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom includes Northern Ireland. And Northern Ireland has, by any measure and anyone's assessment, been left behind in the European Union. We have an Irish Sea border. We've become the first country in history to partition ourselves without a single shot being fired.
But that wasn't... I mean, that was done by the Tory party, Theresa May, Boris Johnson.
It was.
Done badly, a lot of people would argue.
Yeah, and interesting, Boris Johnson claiming on Camilla's show that he's delivered Brexit. He hasn't delivered it. And it's not just semantics here. It's important we call this right and declare Brexit's not done, because those of us who campaign for Brexit have a massive obligation. People like Nigel and me have a huge obligation to stay on the battlefield until we genuinely do jettison the European Union.
So if that's the case, you can usually make more change if you're within an organisation rather than outside it. So surely, if that's what you think, then you would stay. And I mean, you know, we can't all agree on everything. I'm sure there's lots of disagreements with Keir Starmer and his party.
But this is of fundamental importance, because the whole point about reform is standing up for the United Kingdom, and that includes an integral part of the United Kingdom is Northern Ireland. All
right, well, what would you do about it? How would you fix it?
But just more importantly, by the way, as long as that Northern Ireland Protocol stays in place, the Windsor Framework, as it's called, and as long as the treaties that Boris Johnson signed us up to stay in place, we are committed to net zero. We're committed to staying in the European Convention of Human Rights. We're even committed to military cooperation with the European Union.
OK, so what would you do?
We've got to get rid of these things.
What would you do? You'd get rid of all of that?
I would recognise, first of all, and it's not just semantics, it's important, we recognise Brexit's not done. We denounce the Irish Sea border. We put a political arm round the shoulder of our kin in Northern Ireland, and we absolutely bring them back into the United Kingdom. That is vital. And I would denounce the treaties that Boris Johnson signed with the European Union, and they would be my first point of attack as a member of Reform UK.
I think it's harder than it sounds. You know it is, Ben. These are
it's huge.
I mean, this is a very ideological way, and you know, listen, we don't want Northern Ireland to be separated from the rest of the United Kingdom, but that's where we are now. So that's what we have to now find a way to work with that. But somebody comes up with a way of dealing with it.
We're all charged and disgusted by the handing over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius.
No, some people think it's a great idea. David Lammy thinks it's a good idea, and I've spoken to quite a few people who think, yes, that's fair enough.
When I say we all, I mean I'm talking about people who care about the United Kingdom.
Well, they would argue now, to be fair. They're the leaders, they're the ones who run this country now. They would say that they do care.
I fear for the direction of Gibraltar, and I fear for the direction of the Falklands. I also fear, by the way, slightly tangentially, the signals we're giving off as a country to foreign powers. We are a country that's weak. We're a country where the Prime Minister can't distinguish a man from a woman who takes a knee
Well, he has actually confirmed that a woman is an adult female. Well, but it took him 2 years, to be fair.
So in conclusion, reform holds the hopes and aspirations of millions of people in this country in its hands. It is critical that Reform becomes and behaves like a major party, and that it stays true to the promises that it's made to the British people.
Okay.
And I will be completely behind it in order to make sure it delivers its promises.